Bring Kurt Helin, Pro Basketball Talk, NBC Sports, into the conversation as the Sixers take on the Heat to start the unofficial start of the second half tonight. Kurt, welcome back, pal. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. So Embiid is out. Do you find it odd? You know, people here are going crazy. How could he play in the game and now he's out?
It is a little bit, especially since this was something they were dealing with, you know, getting treatment and stuff beforehand. Look, All-Star Weekend isn't that taxing. You can watch the practice on NBA TV, where they do take some half-court shots, discuss some stuff a little bit. It's not very strenuous. The game itself, you are running up and down the hardwood, but they're not really banging bodies and doing that much. So it's not a strenuous stretch. That said, if he was battling knee issues, why didn't they give, even if he was going to play, give him the Anthony Davis, what did Davis play, 5 minutes? You can do that where somebody plays a little bit less. And that said, I don't think it's the most strenuous of times, as long as you continue to get treatment on this, because they can get by against Miami just fine. And, the couple games coming up, they need him at 100% come the playoffs.
Yeah, there's no question. And that they, are a much better team. But are they more equipped? They played in Portland this year without him and got bombed by about 40. Are they more equipped now to get through a week or two without him if it's precautionary?
I think so. I think that with Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler now, they should they've got the scorers. They've got the guys who can step up. They certainly missed the defensive anchor, so they're going to have to put up a little of some points. But I think that they are positioned well enough to they should be able to beat a team like Miami. Like, Miami's kind of up and down, but that's a team. That's the kind of game you should probably still win. I think what's more concerning is, like, this team just still needs to gel, and the more time he's gone,
no question,
it's just less time for all those guys on the court together.
Milwaukee, Toronto, Indiana, Boston, Philadelphia. Is this the storyline down the stretch for you? Or is there something else that you're more intrigued by?
No, that's the best storyline in the league. I mean, what's the story out west? Maybe LeBron can climb it, claw the Lakers back into it. But this is far more fascinating. Can the Pacers look? I don't think they're a playoff threat really without Victor Oladipo. I think it's still a good team, but can they hold on to a playoff spot, especially if Philadelphia does stumble a little with Embiid out? They're not going to roll over. That's still a deep team of solid, players that can win a lot of games in Indiana. Nate McMillan's done a fantastic job there this year again. I don't know. It's not I keep thinking Boston will get by them, but Philly, they got to get some wins to get by them, and you just want to make your life easy on yourself in the first round, right? Like, if you've got to get home court just to make things easier on you, rather than having to travel to Indiana or wherever to get out of that first round. Because from the second round on in the East, man, it's full on Game of Thrones. It's just going to be a battle.
Why is Indiana able to hang? What are they, is it the schedule? Are they? Why is Indiana still in? Because everybody you talk to, Kurt, seems to say, Indiana's not going to be able to do it.
I think what makes them a good regular season team, and frankly a kind of tough out in the postseason when they have Oladipo, is they don't have a weak guy, right? Like, if you get into the postseason, and this is what the starting five should do for Philly, but you can't get into a postseason series with them and say, all right, you know what we got to do is get this guy and do this to him. We can totally expose. Oh my gosh, the Thunder last year had to stop starting Carmelo Anthony because it becomes a game of matchups, and I can go at that guy. Pacers they're just solid up and down the roster. They don't have weak links. They play well as a team. Those teams are not that easy to beat in the postseason because you're going to have to beat a pretty good player to make the play. You're not going to be able to just expose a horribly obvious weakness. So that makes them a tough out, and it makes them just tough night in, night out in the regular season because Bogdanovich will probably lead them in scoring, but Collison could light you up for 30 for a night. They've got guys who can get the buckets for a night, and that's all they need. They need one guy a night.
Kurt Helin at Basketball Talk on Twitter. Follow him there for the NBA. Of course, it restarts tonight. You can listen to Sixers and Heat 97.3 ESPN. Activation LeBron playoff mode. Are the Lakers a shoo-in in the West?
No, not even close. I mean, first off, the Clippers. I mean, there's I think 3 back of the Clippers. The Clippers aren't going to totally fade. They traded their best player to Philly. but they're not terrible still. Like Montrezl Harrell might be the sixth man of the year. They've still got Lou Williams, who is the reigning sixth man of the year, and their go-to guy down the stretch. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is nice. Doc Rivers is a good coach. Like, they're not going to just roll over. They're probably going to be 500 or a little below the rest of the season, so somebody's going to have to pass them. I keep waiting for the Kings to fade. I'm just not sure that's going to happen. You look at the numbers, you're like, they shouldn't be this good, but man, the team keeps winning. They go out and got Harrison Barnes in kind of a win-now move. They're going. I think they get past the Clippers, and if the Lakers are going to do this, they've got to make a big push right now, right out of the gate, and that starts with Houston tonight. They've got to find a way to win a lot of games, and to do that with this roster. Basically, the playoffs have started for LeBron James. He's got to be playoff mode LeBron the rest of the way. If he's not, I think we've seen this team isn't good enough without him.
Kurt, obviously, the NBA took some measures to try to prevent tanking, right? They changed up the lottery. Yet more teams seem to be trying to lose. So did they really fix anything?
I don't think you ever can in the NBA completely, can you? Like, the problem is just the nature of the sport. If you're going to win a lot of games, if you've got one of those, a couple of all-stars or one of those, I don't know, probably about 7 or 8 guys you can just single-handedly, if you've got Giannis, if you've got LeBron, if you've got Kevin Durant, if you've got James Harden,
Joel Embiid,
you can build Joel Embiid, exactly. You've got a contender, right? You can build a contender around that guy with other pieces. Milwaukee, I like Chris Middleton, but then they've got great role players. But they've got one great player. That's all you need. And so if maybe Zion Williamson isn't that guy, maybe he is, but if you need to go get a guy like that one way or another, and draft is how most teams are going to do it. So I just think that's the nature of the sport. You're going to have teams that aren't going to be good, and they're going, let's take our chances. Maybe we can go get Zion or Greg Anthony's kid in a couple of years who's supposed to be pretty special, or whoever's coming through. Like, you've got to go. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's all choked up thinking about these franchise players.
No, Charlotte was cold and wet, and it just brought everything. Brought my cold back. I'm like, thank you very much for that, Charlotte.
Yeah.
It's just I don't think the nature of the sport is ever going to allow it to change much. There's going to be teams that are going to be. Hey, if we're going to be bad, I don't think you're going to see Sixers level, because you don't get an advantage being dramatically worse anymore.
Yeah.
Over an extended period. But that said, look, I mean, there was a reason the process took 4 bites at the apple and hit 2 of them. Like, it's a little hit and miss, and teams are going to be bad till they try to till they get their guy.
Last one for you. Zion Williamson last night, everybody said he shouldn't play anymore. For me, and I'll tell you right off the bat, Kurt, I am not a fan of the one and done. I'm not a fan at all of the high school kids being able to come. I think they should have to play 2. I know that's probably not realistic, but do you foresee that injury last night and all this talk maybe expedites the process for the NBA to make a change?
They're already on track to.
Yeah.
They're going to do it. It's 2022. Personally, I'd like to see them go more to the baseball-style rule where, look, if you're a kid that goes straight to the pros, fine. If you go to college, you should be there a couple of years, and I think that's better for the NCAA too, just to build some continuity to the programs. You got to be there 2 years, you got to be there 3 years, whatever number they come up with. But I don't know if it's going to go that way. That said, it's on the path. The high school thing is just on the path again, and it'll be happening in a few years.
Can I ask you, why does the NBA find that to be valuable for them?
They believe, and actually I'll agree with them on this. They can develop players better, faster than college. With the limitations, you can only practice so many hours a week. They think they can put them in better situations. They were not prepared the first time high schoolers really started coming out to develop kids. That's just not how the league has been.
Okay.
It wasn't what they had to do. And now, with the advances in the G League, with every team having development guys on their roster, they're just better suited to bring those guys along, even though, look, you're going to pay them for a couple of years while you develop them. There's going to be some adjustment in what you should expect out of a rookie. That said, they want them in-house rather than trusting Tom Izzo or anyone else to do it.
Right. Kurt Helin at Basketball Talk on Twitter as the NBA season gets back underway tonight. Sixers and Heat. Listen to it, 97.3 ESPN. No Joel Embiid for at least a week here. We'll find out what's wrong with him. And, by the way, the buyout market is still possible. You know, there's still some players that are going to be lingering out there, so we'll have that to keep an eye on as well. As we know, the Sixers kind of hit the jackpot in that area. So a lot of basketball before the April 14th NBA playoffs begin. Kurt, always a pleasure, pal. Thank you so much.
I have to do it. You know who's out there? You know who'd really help the Sixers? Carmelo Anthony's right there for the taking.
Oh, man. Carmelo.
Just kidding.
Thanks.
He's out there. He is out there.
I think he's out there for a reason.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head there.